Hey, how's it going, guys? You start making videos and you want to get a professional look? Well, I made this using Lumetri Color, only basic correction, into Premiere Pro. Stick around because I'm going to show you the process and some techniques and some tips you can apply. I'm Jose Daniel and welcome back to another video. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss further videos. I make tutorials and videos about photography, videography, so then you can get a professional videos. So let's jump to the Premiere Pro. So when we are here in Premiere Pro, if you want to reset the window, you go here on the top, click here and then reset to save layout. Now to apply the Lumetri Color, we need to select the footage we want to apply the effect, and then going here to effect, we are going to look for Lumetri. So we are going to look for Lumetri Color and then selecting and dragging into the footage, we are going to be ready to apply. If we go here in the monitor source to effect controls, we can see here the Lumetri Color is already there. So let's delete for a moment because there is another way you can do it. So if you have the effect control for this specific footage open, you can go here, select the Lumetri Color effect and then just drag it here to the top. And you can see it's applied and we have everything to change the settings, the basic correction, the creative, the curve, everything. So let's delete this one for a moment because I normally select the footage and then go here to the top and we just select color. When we are here in the color window, you can see here on the right hand side we have the Lumetri Color panels, we have the basic correction, that is we are going to use today. So we are going to change the exposure, the contrast, the highlights, shadows, whites, blacks and saturation as well, and we are going to see some tips for the white balance. If we go here to the monitor source, we can see the Lumetri scopes here. In this case we have the vector scope and the waveform. If you cannot see this window here, just go here on the top, window, and then look for Lumetri scopes. The waveform is going to help us with the shadows, highlights, white and blacks. This one, if we right click, we are going to choose the waveform type. Make sure they have the waveforms, YC no chroma, and then the waveform type we are going to choose no chroma here. This waveform is not showing us any color. And then the vector scope is going to help us with the colors. So if we go here to the saturation, let's say we bring down the saturation, you can see how the vector scope is affected. All the graphic is going to the center. And then if we go to the top, to the 200, we can see how it's changed. If we increase the exposure, you can see how everything goes to the top, to 100. That means the 100 is the highlights, and then if we decrease the exposure, you can see everything goes to 0, and 0 means as blacks. If we want to reset this value here, we just double click and then reset the settings. The vector scope and the waveform are only for reference, this is not 100% accurate. This is going to help us to understand the white balance and the exposure in our footage, because the perception of the color is going to be affected for the lights in the room and whether or not you have your monitor calibrated. So I normally start with the saturation and just bring it up a little bit. Not too much because it's going to be too yellow and then it's going to be too much saturation as well. So around 130, 35 should be fine. And now let's go to the contrast. I like to apply contrast between 25 and 30. Sometimes I do more, it's depending of the footage. In this case, we're going to use 30. And when you do this one, make sure the skin tones are well as well. You can see the skin tones here and the skin tones around there. But make sure as well we keep the yellows. So let's bring the highlights a little bit to the top because we want to increase more highlights. And then for the shadow, let's bring it down to recover some shadows in here in this area. And the whites I normally do around 10 or 20, not too much. And for the blacks, let's bring it down a little bit. You can see here it's hitting the 0 values. Let's leave it for now there in 0. It's just almost there in that line. For the white balance, we don't want to apply too much blue because this is going to affect the footage, the looks, right? It's going to look cold and it's not going to look natural. If we increase too much, it's going to look too much warm and too much yellow. I would like to apply a little bit to the blue just to recover some colors in the rocks and to pop up the blue for the sky. And then you can see there is a slightly magenta over there, and we just can bring it down a little bit. Not too much because it's going to look weird as well. So around there should be fine. and make sure the skin tones, and you can have the reference the skin tones and the white in the t-shirt, and that should be fine. If we go here on the top for this box, we are going to mute the basic correction. You can see here the before, and then we can see here the after. This is going to apply only for the basic correction. If we want to see all the effects mute, we can go here in this one, the global effects. So when we tick all the effects we apply to that footage, we mute with this option here. If you cannot see this option here, you go here to the plus, and then you can find that option over here, as well as other options. Let's press OK. So I'm happy with this, so let's move on with the next one. So I will show you some techniques for the white balance. In this case, we are going to choose the white for the wave. So we want to go to Effect Control. In the opacity, we are going to select the mask, and then we are going to apply our mask around the white. So once we are there, we can go to Lumetri Scope, and what you can see here is 0. The vector scope is in the center. So if we increase it, we can see how it changed it, and then we can just put it there in the middle, and you can see here as well, should be fine there, it's in the middle. And now we go back to Effect Control and then delete the mask, and the white balance should be fine for this footage as we use the whites. So let's now color grade this one. Let's bring the saturation a little bit, and we go here, let's open here, and then you can see the waveform, and let's bring to the top because it's bring more highlights to the shot, and let's increase the contrast around there. The highlights we don't want to increase too much because we are going to lose some details here in the sky as well as on the wave, and then we want to recover some shadows from the rocks. So let's bring down the shadows just around there, should be fine, not too much. It's going to look too much, right? Just around there it's going to look natural, and then the whites just increase a little bit, not too much, and here in the blacks we are going to decrease until the waveform is going to hit the 0 levels here, the 0 line here. So we bring it down just around there. So now you can see here, let's mute the effect, we can see the before, and now we can see the after. We pop up the shadows and some details in the highlight as well, and looks more natural. So now let's move on to the next footage, and in this case we are going to set up the white balance to the skin tones. So we are going to apply the same thing. Let's go to Effects and then select the mask, and then we are going to apply a mask around here, and then we go to Lumetri Scope. So for the skin tones have to be towards to the orange in the vector scope, and we have the green and the magenta. So let's bring into the green tones around there should be fine, and then let's increase a little bit the yellows, and in the waveform we are going to try to bring it to the 70. So let's bring up a little bit the exposure around there. So now let's back to Effect Controls and delete the mask. So now we have the white balance for this shot ready. So we bring up the saturation, let's bring it around there. Let's bring up the contrast around there, and let's recover some shadows. I like a little bit darker the footage. The highlights, let's increase a little bit. Here the same thing, we have too much green in the footage. You can see all the trees. So we don't want to mess around with the white balance, just increasing the magentas, right? Just put it there or something like that. So let's do Ctrl C. So let's back there. And now we can go to whites a little bit and decrease the here. But you can see now the skin tone is a little too yellow, right? Because we increase the saturation and increase all the values. So we can just decrease a little bit the blue, the temperature to the blue, and then we can have a reference the t-shirts and the skin tones if it looks alright. But you can see here we are losing some details. If we can go to Lumetri Scope, we can see here in the white form we are losing some details, right? As well as the blacks. So for the blacks, let's double click to bring it to 0. So now you can see it's just hitting there, should be fine for blacks. And for the whites, we are going to bring a little bit down the exposure just to recover some values. So there should be fine. We recovered some details in the highlights, and we can just, if we want, just bring up a little bit the shadows and maybe the highlights as well. Decrease a little bit the contrast and you'll be fine there. So we can see the before and now we can see the after. It looks okay. I think it's too much green as well. Should be fine around there. Let's see the before and after. Yeah, now I'm happy with this. Now you know how to apply color correction and color grading into your videos to have a professional look. Let me know in the comments if you want to learn the other option of Lumetri Color. For me, the color correction and the color grading is the last thing I do before exporting, because sometimes we decide not to use a specific footage. So if you do at the beginning the color correction or color grading, you will waste time. So that is the reason I do the last. So thanks for watching. That's it for today, guys. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and see you guys in the next video.